Good evening and welcome to the Town of Buxton Selectmen Meeting for April 16th, 2025. Call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. First order of business is a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of prior meeting minutes for April 9th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Reading of the non-budget warrant articles. Chess?
All right. The planning board voted at their meeting on March 31st, 2025 to forward the attached proposed zoning amendments for inclusion to be included on the June town meeting warrant. For zoning ordinances, 5.4.2 plumbing and electrical permits required. We are striking out the line on 5.4.2.b, the lines residential wiring requires a local electrical permit from the town. Commercial wiring requires a permit from the State of Maine Office of Professional and Occupational Regulation. On 5.5, we are adding a building permit shall not be required for fences or the replacement of roofing, siding, windows, and interior flooring if no structural changes to the building are required as part of such work. The code enforcement officer shall be consulted before starting the work. On 10.1.A.4, all access roads require a paved apron for a minimum of 50 feet where they connect with paved public road. 10.1.B.7, all access roads require a paved apron for a minimum of 50 feet where they connect with a paved public road. What's the difference? Exactly the same.
All access roads requiring a paved apron for a minimum of 50 feet where they connect. But yeah, the same thing.
Same thing. Okay. Proposed zoning ordinance amendment to clarify sprinkler requirements. On 10.17.f.2, we are taking out that contains 20 or more sprinkler heads or modifications of an existing approved automatic sprinkler system, which includes 20 additional sprinkler heads. Must have, well, that stays the same. On 10.17.f.3, we're striking out any building containing a sprinkler system shall have a yearly test completed on the system by a qualified sprinkler technician. A written copy of the yearly test report shall be forwarded to the Fire Rescue Chief's office. The Fire Rescue Chief or his designee shall be notified before such test alterations or additions are started. Under the section of approved automatic sprinkler systems, under 1B, we are crossing out attics. When the attic is not boarded over, has no stairway or ladder leading to the attic, and the scuttle hole is bigger than 24 inches by 24 inches, or 576 square inches, and the attic is not often used for storage, and that at least 2 smoke detectors hardwired into the other detectors in the house are placed in the attic. Under C of that section, we're also crossing out 2-hour firewall to be placed between house and garage. And again, I'm just reading part of these zoning changes here. We're striking out section, now I know why you had me read this.
You do it so well.
Now you know.
No, I know. Joke's on me. Under section 2 of this section, we're crossing out, however, an electric alarm bell located on the outside of the building is required, where a multipurpose residential sprinkler system is used and there is no requirement for an alarm bell. We're also striking out section 3, or they are striking out section 3, a single 2.5 inch FDC is to be placed on the outside of the building in a location readily accessible for fire department personnel, where a multi-purpose residential sprinkler system is used and there is no requirement for an FDC. All right. Under general standards for all subdivisions, we're under 13.5, under section II, we're crossing out fire ponds may be allowed in lieu of holding tanks if the water source is approved by the fire chief and code enforcement officer. A fire pond shall be constructed with a 2-to-1 sloped horizontal vertical banking and a minimum depth of 10 feet. The fire pond shall have a minimum capacity of 120,000 gallons as certified by a Maine registered professional engineer and shall be maintained at or above the volume at all times. An overflow system shall be installed and maintained. This was amended on June 15th, 2002. That's all being stricken out. Under section VII, so that's section 7, I guess is what that's intended to be. We're striking out the part of NFPA 13D as set forth in the 1999 edition and the approval of the fire chief. An outside connection shall be required and approved by the fire chief. Okay. And these are all these are all additions?
If they're underlined.
Okay, all right. Under Article 2 definitions, changeable signs. This is being added. An on-premises sign capable of displaying words, symbols, figures, or images that can be electronically, digitally, or mechanically changed by the complete substitution or placement of one display by another by remote or automatic means. We're also adding display area, the surface area of an on-premises sign as calculated by its outer perimeter, including any lettering, graphics, background, and frames, but excluding posts, columns, pedestals, foundations, or any other parts that are perform solely a weight-bearing function. When the perimeter is not a square or rectangle, the display area shall be measured by using simple geometric shapes that encompass the outermost boundary of the sign and all advertising features. Wow. On-premises signs. A sign that advertises only business facility or point of interest at or the sale, rent, or lease of the lot upon which it is located. Okay, that's being added. A sign, under signs as well, striking out attached or freestanding structure, and then adding whether attached to another structure or, oh man, I'm just gonna start from the beginning of this one because there's a multiple of changes and it can get, we're getting rid of attached or freestanding structure, and then we're adding whether attached to another structure or, and that's what we're adding, or the part of another structure, we're adding freestanding, which is designed, it's being added or used to advertise or call attention to any thing, person, business, or activity or place. Then we're crossing out convey to persons not to the premises some information. Crossing out the high the area of a sign shall not be construed to be poles, standards, or other parts which perform solely a weight-bearing function. We're adding, it does not include flag, pennant, or insignia of any nation, state, or municipality. I'm going to get back to you after this. This section under signs, section 10.11, signs, we're adding the section governs on-premises signs in order to protect the town's appearance and promote safe traffic circulation. All adding on-premises signs, we're striking out unless compiling with the main Traveler Information Services Act, where that's being crossed out, as well as shall relate to any goods or services available on the premise or the occupants of premises on which the sign is located, and then it's being left as shall be located within the bounds of the property upon which business is being added, facility or point of interest is located. We're adding to the extent there is a conflict between this Section 11 and the signage requirement set forth in Article 11.28, Section 6 is more restrictive provision shall control. Section 10.11.a, striking out residential uses and the word residential and district, striking out may display, adding display area, adding may be attached to a building. Section 10.11.b in the village district, we're striking out any non-residential use may display we're adding the word one sign, adding per allowed use to attach to the building, and adding and one, crossing out the word or under freestanding, adding sign per lot may be erected. Or crossing out, however, only one freestanding sign shall be permitted per lot and one attached sign per use. No sign shall, that's staying. We're adding the word display, and then adding for each surface used to display a message.
Doing good,
John
John.
said we had to do it.
All right.
Want me to help you, or you?
No. It's hard to read that. Adding in 20 feet. Section 10.11.c, striking out any non-residential use area. We're getting close to that, Jim. And per allowed use, we're adding in one freestanding sign per lot may be erected. We're adding in the display area of a sign, crossing out the word such, crossing out the word the, crossing out to the maximum of, adding whichever is less, crossing out one freestanding sign shall be permitted per lot, adding in the display area for each surface used to display a message, crossing out per side and area. Under 10.11.c.1, crossing out any non-residential use shall be permitted to have. We're crossing out a freestanding, adding the word the, taking the letter S off of signs, adding in authorized by section 10.11.c above, adding in may be erected, crossing out the word form and it's being corrected to the word from, adding in the word display area and taking away per side in area, adding in for each surface used in the display area. Under 10.11.d, we're taking out all other, adding in residential and rural districts, crossing out churches, schools, and other non-residential uses may display. Adding the word one, adding attached to a building or a freestanding sign may be erected. No sign shall measure larger than, and then taking out the word not over, adding the word display, adding in the phrase in the aggregate. Under 10.11.e, we're taking out signs may be illuminated only by shielded, non-flashing signs and shall not cast glare onto any residential premises. Adding in for any externally lit on-premises signs, lighting fixtures shall be shielded, non-flashing, and aimed only at the sign. Light shall not be aimed toward adjacent streets, sidewalks, or abutting properties. Light shall not be distracting to drivers. Light shall not cause glare to be cast on residential premises. That's all being added. On 10.11.f, eliminating the heading. 10.11.f.1, eliminating that. 10.11.f.2, eliminating that entire line. 10.11.f.3, eliminating that line. 10.11.5.4, eliminating that line. 10.11.g, eliminating that line. Oh, boy. 10.11.f, or eliminating the H, eliminating no new, adding changeable, eliminating located in the rural or residential zones, adding in, located in the rural or residential zones is being eliminated. Added in will be allowed in the Village Business Commercial District and the Business Commercial Design Standard Overlay District as long as they meet the following standards. Adding 10.11.f.1, actually, I think 10.11.f.1.a, it's all new lines. Does that still have to be read?
It's all being added.
Yeah, okay. All right. Internally lit sign shall consist of light lettering or symbols set against a dark background to minimize the amount of light emanating from the sign. Where practicable, internally lit letters and symbols shall be used rather than the whole panels that are internally lit. Letters or symbols on panels that are not internally lit shall constitute not more than 75% of the signs of the design of the display area. 10.11.f.1.b, internally lit signs shall not act as light fixtures or cause glare on nearby pathways, roadways, or onto residential premises. Lighting levels shall not exceed 1 foot candle of illumination measured 10 feet from the base. The display must be equipped with automatic and manual dimming controls. Under 10.11.f.2, adding changeable signs. The 10.11.f.2.a, the display on each side of a changeable sign must be changed as rapidly as technologically practical with no phasing, rolling, scrolling, flashing, or blending. Under no circumstance may a changeable sign flash or display continuous streaming of information or video animation. 10.11.f.2.b, adding the duration of display. Each display of a changeable sign must be displayed for a minimum of 20 minutes. 10.11.f.2.c, hours of operation. The changeable sign may operate in a changeable form from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and must contain a static display from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. 10.11.f.2.d, changeable signs shall continue software that can display the current display of brightness and automatically dim the display. The display brightness shall not exceed 3,500 nits for the period from 1/2 hour before sunrise to 1/2 hour before sunset, and 500 nits for the period from 1/2 hour before sunset to 1/2 hour after sunrise. 10.11.f.3 Maintenance. Internally lit and changeable signs shall be located where they can be easily maintained. Non-functioning bulbs shall be replaced immediately. 10.11.f.4 The sign shall be the sign of an internally lit changeable sign shall provide clarification to the planning board from the supplier or installer that the sign conforms to the maximum illumination levels set forward in this section on 10.11. 10.11.g Mounting systems. On-premises signs shall be mounted in a manner that provides adequate support for the weight of the sign. Mounting systems shall be designed to be compatible with the architecture in terms of color, forms, and style. Electrical connections, wiring, junction boxes, and other similar devices shall not be visible from pedestrian pathways or roadways. Signs shall not hinder the distance, the driver's sight of distance. 10.11, we're adding H taken off F. The above regulations shall not apply to the following. Eliminating 10.11, adding E. We're striking out 10.11 EF.1, flags and insignia of any government. 10.11 H is being added and taking out the F.2. 10.11.F.3, we're eliminating, or the planning board is eliminating integral decorative or architectural features of buildings except letters, trademarks, moving parts, or any moving or flashing light. 10.11.H.2 is being added, and in that line, but is being removed. All right, and the following comes up for design standards for commercial buildings, structures, or uses. Under section H.
I would just say striking out A, B, C, D, you know what I mean? That's what I mean.
You think so?
I don't see why you have to.
I don't see
What do you
any
guys think?
productivity.
You can just say which we're striking out.
Yeah, and design standards, striking out A, B, C, D on that.
So they're removing design standards?
Kind of looks like it. We're getting there. This ain't too bad. All right. Proposed zoning ordinance amendments to allow certain farm-related uses, car wash, and business contractor usages. Under Article 2 definitions. Agritourism facility is being added, a commercial enterprise that links agricultural production and/or processing with the tourism to attract visitors onto a farm, ranch, or other agricultural business for the purposes of entertaining or educating the visitors while generating income for the farm, ranch, or business owner. Animal husbandry, raising, breeding, or keeping more than 10 fowl or any number of other animals except customary household pets for a person's own consumption, and the incidental sale of products. Artisanal food or beverage facility. A facility wherein food or beverage products are produced and sold directly to the consumer. Products may be retailed for consumption on or off the premises, and promotional products may be offered for sale. The facility may additionally engage the small-scale wholesale distribution of products produced on site and may offer guided tours of the facility and tasting rooms. Examples include, but are not limited to, a facility engaged in small batch baking, small batch cheese productions, a small brewery, winery, distillery producing under 50,000 gallons a year, a small batch vegetable pickling, or small-scale meat or fish curing. That might be good in your neighborhood. Fish curing. Business contractor, adding, a business engaged in the provision of a service off premises, but which has an office and equipment, materials stored on the premises, included but not limited to general building contractors, landscape and business, electrical or plumbing contractors. Commercial composting, a business which imports organic material to be composted for resale. This use does not include composting associated with gravel pits or agricultural composting operations as defined in the Maine Agricultural Protection Act M7 MSRA subsection 152. We do have the land use table here, which will make no sense if I read it. So, almost there. All right, 11.22, elderly housing and affordable housing development. Under 11.22.f, or elderly is being added. Under 11.22f.1, location, or elderly is being added. Under 11.22f.3.2, elderly is being added. Under 11.22.5, f.6, elderly is being added. And the entire line of 11.22 f.7, pursuant to the definition of base density in the Article 2 of this ordinance, the buildable area requirement found in the Section 9.6 does not apply to affordable elderly housing developments. And under change of hours for medical marijuana registered dispensaries and cultivation facilities, under Section D, the timing is being changed to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday.
Nice job. Non-budgetary article to be included in the warrant for 2025-2026 town report and vote on at annual town meeting for the town of Buxton. The town of Buxton to change its main PERS plan for dispatchers, EMS employees, firefighters, police officers, effective July 1st, 2025, to see if the town of Buxton will vote to change its retirement plan for eligible dispatchers, emergency medical service employees, firefighters, and police officers, effective July 1st, 2025. To offer a special plan 3C to its full-time dispatch, emergency medical service employees, firefighters, police officers, and regularly work 32 hours per week, 52 weeks per year for service rendered after June 30th, 2025. Service for eligible dispatchers, emergency medical service employees, firefighters, police officers accrued before July 1st, 2025 remain under Special Plan 2C. To continue to offer regular Plan AC to its full-time general governmental employees who regularly work 32 hours per week, 52 weeks per year. To exclude all other employees from participating in main PERS, including its select board members and part-time employees. To authorize William Ham, Treasurer, to sign the amendment agreement between the town of Buxton and the Public Employee Retirement System. Article to be approved adopting of Curtis Farm Road as a public road of the town of Buxton. Shall the town of Buxton vote to accept Curtis Farm Road as a private road serving a 12-lot subdivision off Long Plains Road prepared for Chase Custom Homes and recorded in York County Registry of Deeds on January 16th, 2003, in Plan Book 278, page 32. And that's all the non-budgetary. Discussions held between 4 and 7. At 4 o'clock, Kevin Kimball was supposed to be in, but he had to cancel. At 4:30, Grace Mulhern came in. She is our rec department, and we talked about the piece of land on 202 beside Timberline that we've been talking about buying. We're going to be having a public hearing on that in the next couple of weeks. Mark has some more information he might add on that. At 5 o'clock, Kevin Collins, our police chief, came in. We went into executive session, 1 MRSA 405 6D, that's union, at 5 o'clock, and we came out of that one at 5:10. At 5:10, we went into executive session again, 1 MRSA 4056A, personnel, and we came out of that at 5:26. And then after that, we just talked among ourselves about Ego Maine, what we're thinking of doing and trying to figure out what was the best for the town of Buxton. So we haven't quite figured that out yet, but we're still working on it. Projects and issues, Tom.
Yeah, I attended the workshop last night with the budget committee and the rest of the select board, and also spent some time on the phone this week with member of Gorham's community who is on the board with Eco Maine, just trying to pick his brain about any downsides to being a member community versus contract community or nothing at all. He really didn't give me any reasons not to join if we have the opportunity. But that's, like Dave said, something we're still discussing, but basically we lock into a 30-year ownership agreement with Eco Maine. It would cost the town it would cost our tonnage fees plus around $40,000 a year for those 30 years to become an owner of the incinerator. All the other members have paid a share of ownership as well. That's why how they come up with that value. As time goes on and if they open it back up down the road, the facility will be worth more money, so those fees would be higher. So I don't, we got a 5-year bid initially from Casella. First 2 years were very comparable to the prices Eco Maine has. The following 3 ended up quite a bit higher, like I think $50,000 higher, if our tonnage was comparable this year in 5 years to what we would pay if we were an owner at Eco Maine. Mark did talk to Casella and get them to agree to a 2-year contract, so that's kind of the thing that we're volleying around is, do we sign a 2-year contract with Casella or go to the townspeople and see if they want to become a member with Eco Maine, and then we'll know what our tonnage fees will be for the next 30 years, and we'll have a voting member. Someone from the town would have to be on the board with Eco Maine at that point because it's owned by the member communities. So everyone that has ownership has a number of votes. So that's kind of how that works in a nutshell. And I know Terry Deering's the Public Works Director at Gorham. I know him well and wanted to pick his brain about their experience. So it's all so far been good. He's actually one of their representatives and a voting member on Eco Maine's board. So he had a lot of good information, and I appreciate it. So That's it for me.
Frank?
Yeah, not a lot for me this week. I wasn't in the office as much as I would like to have been. I've had some things going on at the house I had to take care of. I did also attend the budget workshop last night.
Mark?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Tom just said, I think the few important things, I think that the board is leaning towards contracting with EcoMaine. They are sending a contract over for us to look at. One of the concerning factors is that, it gives us a little more certainty with Casella's. After the 2-year contract, we don't know where we'll be. I will say, though, if we get into EcoMaine, recycling curbside is probably going to be something that's going to be, how could I say that? Encouraged. I think that is, part of their driving factor. It'll be encouraged by us probably as well, because then we pay less for tonnage. And there was a new law that was put out last legislative season, which is only come into effect in 26, where any manufacturer putting out packages in plastic is paying a fee. That fee will go to EcoMaine, and communities that recycle will be reimbursed a percentage of whatever they're recycling. And so, just to be upfront, that's one of the driving, one of the facts of EcoMaine, of what they're trying to achieve. And so that, trash is going to be something coming down the pipeline that we're going to have to address. We still have 2 years left with Casella's. We don't have to recycle, but I think it will be encouraged potentially to make this program really be successful for us. So that's something to consider as well. As far as there's a resident that reached out and wanted to know what the difference is between the two plans of 2C and 3C. The 3C plan, the 2C plan is a 25-year employment with a retirement of 50% of your income. The 3C plan is a 25-year employment with a 66% retirement plan, and so that's the difference mostly. The cost of that is 1.5% to the community at this point, and so that's what the difference is between those two plans. Moving forward on the land conversations, I did speak to the broker that owns the land. First, let me start. We've had overwhelming support to purchase the land. We did have one resident who was not in favor. His point was that we need to have keep commercial space open for commercial entities to come to our community. And the fact that we have enough or a lot of parks within our community already existing, we don't really need another park, we need more commercial space. Although I would agree with this point that commercial space is very important to our community, I feel like the location of this particular property is vitally important because of the Weymouth Park and because of Buxton Home Days and because that area is important. But having said that, we'd have an overwhelming majority of the community that has been interested in this. So I did reach out to the broker that owns the property. We're trying to negotiate a deal. If we do negotiate a deal, we will put it on the June warrant. And prior to the June warrant, we will have a public hearing where the public will be able to speak in favor or against the purchase of this land. And at that point, we can either table the item if it's of no interest to the community and or proceed to purchase the property. And so part of the discussion I had with the broker is that this is the process the town has to go through if they're interested in working with the town. And it seems like they're favorable to that. We'll see what happens. I told her I'd like to know by Friday to get a final answer so we can move forward with that. So that was a conversation I had this week. Also, one of the items that I spoke to Kevin Kimball today, we've gone through the whole budget process. Unfortunately, just today, he got a couple bids for some guardrails that we've been looking at replacing for the last 3-4 years. On 2 roads, on 2 bridges in our community. We haven't had anybody that has presented bids to replace them. We finally got a bid today. It's roughly around $20,000 to replace both those guardrails on both those bridges. We will be putting that in the warrant. We'll have to discuss that with the budget committee on Tuesday when we meet with them at the final. So this is a last-minute item that we're introducing into the bill, into our warrant. We felt it is a necessity. We just got the bids today, unfortunately, but we're trying to allocate that money and moving forward. And also with that, speaking with Kevin, we did have a little malfunction with the Bobcat over at the transfer station. Greg reached out to me. It was just a loose fitting. That is back in operation and working. And that was my week.
Chad?
Yes, I did deal with the code enforcement local health officer issue over in the Bar Mill section of town here, and I think that could have resolved itself. But much like what Mark said, I've been approached by a lot of people, and I haven't heard any negative thoughts about that land purchase. Everybody, because of its location across from Weymouth Park, and where we've always had community days and like events, everybody thinks it's a great idea that I've run into. So if there's been anybody that has a negative thought about it, they haven't expressed it to me in my runnings in with people, so.
Okay, I was at the budget workshop last night. Again, most everybody that I've talked to has liked the idea of us getting this piece of land. So I did talk to Public Works a little bit, and that's about it for my week. Old business. Last year, we got a permit from Saco River Corridor to do some work down Pleasant Point. We did half of that work, and the river was too high the rest of the year, so we couldn't get it finished, so we had to apply for an extension. And we have a hearing in Porter, Maine, next Wednesday night to get that granted so that we can finish the work. Any new business? Executive orders, Executive Order 2425-0420, an order approving Patty J. McKenna to the position of Code Enforcement Officer effective until April 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Executive Order 2425-0421, an order appointing Patty J. McKenna to the position of Building Inspector effective until April 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Executive Order 2425-0422, an order appointing Patty J. McKenna to the position of Plumber Inspector effective until April 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Executive Order 2425-0423, an order appointing Kurt A. Jackson to the position of Deputy Code Enforcement Officer effective until April 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Executive Order 2425-0424, an order appointing Kurt A. Jackson to the position of Deputy Plumber Inspector effective until April 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Executive Order 2425-0425, an order appointing Kurt A. Jackson to the position of Deputy Building Inspector effective until April 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5. Any executive orders by initiative?
No.
Accounts payable and payroll warrant. Executive Order 2425-0426, an order approving expenditures is documented in payroll warrant 83.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 5, and that amount was $106,713.55. Executive Order 2425 0427 in order approving expenditures is documented in accounts payable 84.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor? That's 5, and that amount was $169,292.61. Next meeting of the boards. The next selectmen meeting will be Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. The next planning board meeting will be held Monday, April 28th, 2025 at 7 p.m. It got changed.
21st. 21, not 28.
They changed it from the 21st to the 28th.
Okay. Wasn't changed in mine.
The selectmen will be meeting with the budget committee on Tuesday, April 22nd at 6 o'clock. The selectmen will be meeting for police union negotiations on Thursday, April 17th, 2025. Any other business? Public questions and comments?
Dave Hyman, Buxton. That's one way to get the meeting more than 10 minutes.
You're right
Can
there.
you reread the one on the signs?
The one about the geometric shapes and,
The one that you was asking questions about, the paving of the driveway, was one of those onto a dirt town road and the other one onto
it was
a paved town road?
It was written exactly the same.
There's a misprint, I think.
It must be a misprint because it's,
Okay, I didn't know whether they may have put something onto a,
Yeah,
a
no,
dirt
no.
town road and a,
nope, they're identical, so.
okay. I
That
thought
came
maybe-
from the planning board, so that's how we were told to read it.
Yeah.
So we didn't,
No, I was just curious. He looked at it and said that he thought it was the same.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether it said dirt and, or paved town road.
And I said in there a couple times, we're gonna add or strike out, I shouldn't have used the term "we," it's the planning
Planning
board,
board,
so.
The meeting next Tuesday night, is that gonna be televised?
yes,
That when you're voting on,
yes.
okay. Last week on the, week before last, when the police chief was doing his budget and the SRO officer was mentioned, and I talked to somebody on the budget advisory committee and supposedly that's been removed.
Yes,
And then they said that it wasn't removed because they gave them supplemental budget, they put it back in, and now they say that it's not supposed to be on the budget. Not supposed to be taken.
So I heard from Clay Gleason, the superintendent, called Kevin Collins and told him that they did not approve it. So we have removed it from our budget.
Okay, that, I won't say anything about the second part of that then, if it's been removed from the budget. The code enforcement deputy, is that only on vacation weeks, when Patty's on vacation, or how does that?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, yes, that's what it's designed for, but if she needs help, he's there to help her out.
he has passed all his tests.
It's very cyclical in that office there. And
Right.
they get some real spikes and they can really help her, the spikes in activity and
Yeah.
that can.
No, I was just curious, the deputy always used to be, when they were on vacation, they'd have the one from Hollis. They always voted that one in as a deputy. So I was just wondering if it was still the same, or whether he's working hand in hand with her, during the week, or what. You didn't mention the lights out here, did they get a chance?
Yes, they were fine last night. Kurt said that he had called, so that's all I know.
Yeah. Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to make another comment. I just wanted to, so I was in contact with Don Marion, and got the budget for the school budget this year. It looks like the town's portion of Buxton only, the increase is greater, but what the town's portion is going to be is $308,468, I think, something like that. And so I am in favor of supporting that budgetary increase this year. I think that, you know, they were at over 600 is what we were kind of budgeting for, and so to see a 308 increase was welcomed, I guess. And so we have an obligation to teach our children. I think that, you know, we can always complain about school departments a lot, but at the end of the day, I think that, you know, with the environment that we're in, for that kind of increase to our community, I think is reasonable. And so I just want to let the community know that I will be supporting the increase this coming year.
Any other business? Any executive sessions? If not, I will call for adjournment at 7:50.
So moved.
All those in favor? That's 5. Have a safe week and be safe.
Evidently not.
Tuesday.
Evidently not.
Yeah, and if we made a decision, David, that if we spend 30 grand, it doesn't work, you're fired. Just kidding you. Okay.
He does it and it doesn't work.